on the topic of being an individual contributor within the AI era, I see three main characteristics that actually matter. And those are high agency, urgency, and curiosity. So let me break it down. Let's start with high agency. High agency is very simple. The way I see it is the ability for you to just do things without being told exactly what to do or how to actually do it. So doing a task without being told what to do or where to go for resources and just taking matters into your own hand. So that's agency in general. Then if you take it one step up, which is high agency, I really think that is the ability to just preempt what is required of you and deliver it before it's even requested. So let's put this into practice. A lot of you watching this video might work in an AI company that's trying to be AI first or AI native or AI ready, whichever tagline any of the companies you're working at is using. A lot of you watching this video are probably developers or people working in AI in general. And one thing I actually see in my role, I've seen in previous role that the AI agency people actually do is they just do a task without being told exactly what to do. For example, sometimes in a corporate company, you have like a high level goal, like we need to make X revenue. I find a lot of high agency individual contributors will take a company goal and break that into several different sub goals and think about an overarching strategy and tactics that they can then execute themselves that helps them to achieve that goal the moment they get off an all hands that is presenting the new fiscal year company objective. That's high agency. So if your company says, hey, this year we're aiming to get $200 million in revenue from our self-serve customers, what do? As an I agency individual contributor, you think about the goal, you think about your product that your company is working on, and you think about how you could start to break down that massive goal into things that you can control and actions you can take. For me, if I was given that goal, I've worked in loads of database companies and consultancy. If someone gave me a goal and said, hey, we need to actually increase the amount of revenue that we're getting from our clients by, let's say, 20%, right? I would not wait for my manager to tell me exactly what to do to be able to achieve that goal, or even try to translate that high level goal to what we have to do in terms of our team. I would take the initiative to say, look, we have to get X amount of pounds or X amount of percentage in revenue from our existing clients. How can we look at opportunities that we've not actually seen before that can allow us to maybe claim more billable hours or maybe expand the project that we're able to do? What I'll do is I'll look at the current projects we have. Then I'll look at maybe areas that we've not explored. Like, for example, a client has been building an agentic system for one part of the business, but why can't we then transfer what's been successful here over to another business unit and start to look at that as a different project that we can then build? And the way we'll do that is we build a POC, I'll do some research, and we can start to arrange some demos. And that way we can start to create more opportunities to increase the company's revenue. So the goal for the individual contributor can be with your AI agency to say, within our existing clients, we need to win an extra 2 new AI workloads within the quarter, or at least then break it down into maybe have 10 new conversations around use cases within this clients that you're targeting. So that's what I've seen agency people do. They would go and tackle things by themselves without being told explicitly what to do. Some people will wait for direction. Some people will wait for the specific action that they should take. So if you want to survive in the AI era where people are about 10 times productivity and the competition is crazy, you have to just think at a very high level, and then you have to do the next thing, which is the second characteristic for surviving in the AI era for individual contributor, which is urgency, right? Urgency is something I am still trying to learn myself. You can look at urgency as this ability for you to feel the time pressure of getting an action done and actually use that to motivate yourself and increase the momentum when you're doing a certain activity. So for urgency, I guess everyone can relate to this. If you went to school and you were doing a coursework, you typically had a deadline to submit that coursework, and that created a sense of urgency as you got through closer to the weeks of delivery. And if you were anything like me, you're probably doing it 3 days before you had to hand it in. That's the thing about urgency. Most of the time that you're given to do a task, the time you've given yourself to do a task will be the time you use to complete it. Definitely butchered that, but wherever you get what I'm trying to say. If you actually have and you master this of giving yourself innate artificial sense of urgency, you can actually shorten the time it takes for you to do tasks and do them and actually then get more outputs. Obviously, there has to be that quality with what you're delivering with each of the activities you're doing. Sometimes you can actually artificially create urgency yourself. So I'm about to have like a massive live event, right? And I know roughly the week or the dates. I'm using that to say, okay, by this time, I want to achieve X, 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 right? And I'm using that to create this sense of urgency for myself. I have the date and I look at the date and I have like a countdown. Some of you might look at it as maybe your birthday. You can use your birthday as a mark for you to achieve certain goals as well. That could create a sense of urgency. But one thing that's worked for me, like a mental framework, I read this a while ago called 12-week year, which is where you have your goals set out for the year, but then you compress that and try to get it done within 12 weeks. And that created some sense of urgency for me as well. So artificially looking for ways you could create deadlines within your life, within the task you're doing. How can you bring this to work? Well, it can be a bit easier, a bit hard. So corporate companies will typically operate in fiscal years and they will have quarters. So you can set yourself within a quarter, I want to achieve this certain goal. Maybe within a quarter, I want to get X amount of revenue for the business, or I want to do X amount of projects or build X amount of websites for the business within this next 3 months. Then you can shorten that within 1 month. And maybe you even say it out loud, right? You communicate it to your leadership and you put your name behind it to actually create that sense of accountability. And now you actually have to get the stuff done. When I set goals in my place of work today, everyone knows what that goal is, right? I don't shy away from big numbers. I take on big numbers because I know I wouldn't say this out loud, even though I don't think I know how to get it today. But by setting that big goal, I'm going to discover a new way of thinking that will allow that goal to become a reality. So in my place of work, I stand behind big numbers, and everyone knows Richmond is working towards getting this X amount of downloads that is ridiculously high that the company has never done before. By halfway through the quarter, with the things I do, people start to see that it can be a reality. Don't wait for anyone to tell you what to do. Go get stuff done with the right direction. And the right direction really comes from expertise. You don't want to be chasing the wrong thing. And we can do a video on having the right expertise and separating signal from noise. But then the next one is urgency. Just be very quick, right? Life is finite. Time is finite. You just act with urgency and use artificial events in your life and incorporate artificial deadlines for yourself. I'm still trying to master this. I'm not talking like I'm an expert. Probably some of you listening to this probably know more than me. Then this is the last one, curiosity. You have to be incredibly curious to survive in the AI world today. And I'm going to say this with a caveat, which is you don't have to be curious about everything, but what you have to do is you have to choose a lane. Choose a lane that you want to operate in and be very curious about everything within that lane. And every single thing that you think is high signal, double click into it, right? Like learn more about it. You see someone interesting within that lane that you've chosen, follow them, reach out to them, try to get a one-to-one with them or coffee with them. Be curious about people, about events, about things, right? Take me for example. The lane I've chosen is agent memory, continual learning, and databases, because I've worked in database companies. So with agent memory and continual learning, if I see anything on the internet that maybe meets that, I am immediately double clicking into it and using some of my filters to determine if this is worth bookmarking so I can look into later, right? And I'm curious about it. Even if it's things within, not even related to agents, which is computational entities that act independently, maybe even neuroscience. I'm still curious to say, okay, what does memory look like in humans? And sometimes I get recommended papers and I read those papers, right? From biology or neuroscience, right? Those things are still interesting. Just be curious about things around you that are related to your lane. I'm not curious about carpentry. That's not going to help me survive in the AI era, right? I'm not curious about astronomy. I am curious about things within my own lane, and that allows me to learn new things and expand my worldview without getting distracted. That is the key thing. Don't get distracted. It is so easy to get distracted with AI. A new model release, a new startup to raise something. Just stick to the mission, which is your lane, and you choose your lane based on your expertise. and then you actually stick to it. Yeah, so those are the three things. We don't need to make this video too long. So to recap, agency, urgency, curiosity, you have those three things and you just work on them. Like I said, I'm still working on my sense of urgency. If you actually work on those three things, I do think you'll be able to have a better chance to survive in this AI era and beyond. And that's it. So on the topic of surviving as an individual contributor within the AI era, three things: agency, urgency, curiosity. Thank you.